It was a day like any other, hot and sticky, the kind of summer afternoon that makes you feel like the sun is cooking the asphalt beneath your feet. My wife, 8 months pregnant, and I had spent the morning running errands, doctor's appointments, picking up her prenatal vitamins, mailing a few things. By the time we reached the parking lot of a corner convenience store, we were both ready for a break. The heat was almost unbearable, but my wife, glowing and radiating this strange mix of maternal beauty and exhaustion, insisted on coming inside. She wanted to stretch her legs, she said. Honestly, there was nothing refreshing about the air that day, but I let her lead the way. She rested one hand protectively on her belly as we walked into the store together. The store itself was a welcome escape from the blistering heat, thanks to the air conditioning, but it was unusually crowded for a weekday. A group of teenagers was loitering near the fridges, laughing and jostling each other over energy drinks. An uptight man in a suit was tapping away furiously on his phone while juggling a bottle of water and a pack of gum, his frustration practically oozing out of him. My wife grabbed a lemon iced tea, her latest craving, while I picked up a bottle of water and a bag of peanuts. We made our way to the checkout, only to find a longer line than expected. There were only 2 registers open, and it seemed like everyone had come out for their mid-afternoon snacks at once. We took our place in line, and I made small talk with my wife, trying to distract her from the heat, but all I could think about was the overwhelming sense of fatigue she was wearing like a second skin. That's when she caught my eye. Standing 2 people ahead of us was a woman impossibly tall, with a bob haircut so perfectly angled that it almost looked fake. She wore oversized sunglasses perched on top of her head, even though we were inside, and a pastel pink tank top that read, "Why not?" in glittery letters. She was huffing and puffing, her arms folded over her chest like the world owed her something. With every step she took, every sigh she let out, she seemed to be making a point of letting everyone know how inconvenienced she was by the mere existence of people around her. I tried to ignore her. I didn't want to waste the energy getting worked up, but we both knew the type. We both knew that her sense of entitlement could turn into something far worse if we weren't careful. The line inched forward, and just as we thought we might escape her constant grumbling, she turned, glancing over her shoulder at my wife's pregnant belly. I saw it, the way her eyes flickered, then twisted into something ugly, something I couldn't quite put a finger on. And then it came. "Oh, give me a break," she scoffed loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "You people will do anything to get ahead in line, huh?" My wife's brow furrowed in confusion, and before she could respond, I stepped in. "Excuse me," I asked, my voice calm but firm. Karen didn't flinch. Instead, she rolled her eyes. "You heard me. I've seen this trick before. Fake a pregnancy, hold your belly, and hope people let you skip. Pathetic." The air in the store went cold, like someone had dropped a bucket of ice water over the entire scene. I could see my wife's face turning pale, the hurt spreading across her features, and it took every ounce of control I had not to snap back. "Instead," I said, "she's 8 months pregnant," trying to keep my voice steady. "We're not asking anyone to let us skip. We're just here like everyone else." But Karen wasn't done. She huffed, crossed her arms, and shot back. "Yeah, sure. You can rent those fake bellies online. I saw a video about it. You people are always scamming for sympathy." My wife, who had been nothing but quiet, nothing but polite, just froze. I could see tears welling up in her eyes, but she was holding them back. She didn't want to make a scene. She didn't deserve this. But as much as I wanted to be the voice of reason, I knew this wasn't going to end with just harsh words. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, starting to record. It wasn't the first time I'd seen a situation spiral, and something told me this wasn't going to end with just harsh words. I began recording, holding the phone casually, but making sure the screen was pointed in Karen's direction. She didn't seem to notice, or maybe she didn't care. She stepped closer to us, violating that invisible bubble of personal space we all have. And then, without warning before I could react, she raised her hand and slapped my wife's stomach. The sound of it wasn't as loud as it was sharp, fast, unexpected, and it echoed in my head louder than it did in the store. My wife gasped, stumbling back a step, hands clutching her belly. I moved immediately, placing a hand on her shoulders, checking her face, her stomach. I wanted to make sure she was okay. Karen stood there, unflinching, as if nothing had happened. but I could see a fear creeping into her expression as the realization hit her. I wasn't just standing there in silence. I wasn't just going to let this go. I raised my phone, making sure she saw it, letting her know that this wasn't over. "You're going to regret that," I said, my voice low and steady. And then I saw it in her eyes, the fear. She froze. Not out of anger, but out of panic. The jig was up. The next few moments felt like they stretched out for hours, but in reality, it only took seconds for the store to react. The cashier, a young woman, dropped the receipt she'd been handing out to the previous customer and let out a loud gasp. The teenagers at the back, who had been laughing before, now stood frozen, their phones out, recording as well. The air in the store felt heavy, like a dam about to break, and Karen realized she wasn't just yelling at someone in a parking lot anymore. She was about to face consequences. "Call the police," I said, my voice sharp. The cashier nodded and grabbed the store phone, dialing the number. Karen's eyes flicked toward the door, and for a moment, I thought she might try to bolt. But before she could make her move, the manager came out. Stocky, no nonsense. The kind of guy who wasn't about to let anything slide. "What the hell is going on here?" he demanded, his eyes moving from the stunned crowd to my wife, who had now taken a seat on a stool, looking pale and shaken. I didn't hesitate. "That woman hit my pregnant wife in the stomach. I have it all on video." The manager didn't flinch. He turned to Karen. "Ma'am, you need to stay right here. The police are on their way. We have security cameras. If you try to leave, it's only going to make this worse for you." Karen opened her mouth to argue, but then she saw the phones pointed at her. She clamped it shut, and for the first time, she looked small, like all her arrogance and entitlement had vanished. The police arrived soon after. The officers asked to see the footage, and I played it for them. I saw the looks on their faces as they watched it. The anger, the accusations, the slap. They didn't hesitate. They turned to Karen and told her to step outside. She followed them, pale, defeated. My wife, still shaken but now able to speak, nodded weakly. "I think I'm okay, it just scared me." I nodded, holding her hand as we waited for the officers to finish up. We'd both been through so much in those few minutes, but the relief, knowing that Karen was going to face consequences, was undeniable. And then, everything changed. That video, recorded in real time, had gone viral. People were furious on our behalf. They were rallying around us, demanding justice. The internet had become our unexpected ally, turning our painful experience into a symbol of the kind of entitlement we'd all experienced at some point. And Karen? Well, her story didn't end in a parking lot or with her own regrets. It ended with her facing the consequences of her actions, and for once, the system worked in our favor. She had tried to humiliate us. She had tried to use her position of power to manipulate and strike. But she underestimated one thing. The truth always comes out. And when it does, justice follows.